Hey gang, Will here from the Ashland Fly Shop, and we are back with a fishing report, fishing update for the region for the 12th of March 2020. Away we go. All right, so let's hop right in with the Rogue River. Well, as you know, the whole West has been dealing with high pressure, low water, and that's still the name of the game. So honestly, you could probably just superimpose the last couple weeks fishing report right over this one. But you know, things are just kind of slowly moving along. We did have a handful of guided fish days in the last couple weeks, and you know, we're seeing a few fish here and there, seeing a few really nice fish. But all in all, it's kind of the same setup. Really low water, you know, bright sun. It's really tough conditions for winter steelhead out there. You know, the positive, and I've seen some people say it's really true. We've got a lot of more fishable days this year for sure. You know, than we've had in the past. You know, we get lots of storms and stuff. It makes it harder to fish. We might have, you know, better conditions for those handful of days that are available, but you know, these low water years, you know, they can have some benefit of their own, and that's what that is we're able to just pretty much go fish whenever we want. So, but yeah, it's been all right. You know, we've had some real dedicated swing days. Our guides have been out there, and they're finding a few fish here and there. You know, I would say now more than ever, fishing with a guide is really important because they're out there. They kind of know, you know, where the fish are going to lay in this type of in these types of conditions, these low water conditions, and they're really going to kind of know where to find them. So, and also the access to the river where they might be. Whereas, you know, when the summer fish are really moving around, moving up and down, you know, they can kind of show up here and there. Winter fish are going to be much more, you know, much more predictable in their lives, and they're just not going to be everywhere. So, so that's kind of a tip, kind of an encouragement to maybe consider doing a guide if you're really fired up to fish. I would probably suggest that. Or if you can get out on your own in a boat. If you're a nymph guy or gal, this is a great time to be nymphing. That's really probably your best bet at getting into a good winter fish right now. You know, those fish just get really stuck down in that ledge rock and stuff, and they just really don't want to move. So you're going to probably have more chances if you're running nymphs through those spots and stuff. But if you're a swing nut like we are, then that's what you're going to do. You're really looking at, you know, even with the high pressure, even with the bright sun, you want, you know, big tips, you know, T14, stuff like that. You want to get that fly in front of them. You really want to meet them with the fly where they are, as opposed to, you know, getting that fish to move, especially in the upper sections of the river, like the Rogue or the North Umpqua, in those sections that we'll talk about. So anyway, Rogue is just incredibly low. It's under 800 CFS coming out of the dam, which is, you know, just as low as it gets, and then down probably around like 1300 around Dodge, which is, you know, fairly normal low flows, but very low for this time of year, obviously. So super clear out there. So, you know, real light flies. If you're swinging flies, you know, we like the hobos and kind of light marabou flies and things like that are nice, something with good movement. Nymphs, it's all the same stuff, hothead flies, small nymphs as trailers, copper johns, egg patterns, things like that. But the Rogue, we're at the 1st of March, or excuse me, about, you know, 10th of March or so. So we've got, you know, another month of seeing that. And again, this kind of pattern can really slow the fish down. So, so we might see an little extended season. So we'll keep you up to date on that. But that's what we're seeing on the upper Rogue. Taking a look at the weather conditions for the next like 10 days, we do have a fair amount of overcast heading our way. Not a ton of precipitation, but a fair amount of overcast, which is really positive. That's a good thing to get out there. So if you're looking to get out and you know, have your, you know, sort of best case scenario with conditions, and, you know, picking some of those overcast days to be out there is going to be in your favor for sure. And we've got some of that coming up. Oh, a little bonus on the Rogue is that we have seen good heavy hatches of March brown mayflies, which is a great hatch that we have. there on the upper river. We typically see it between the hatchery and Shady Cove, kind of similar with the salmon fly hatch. So if you're doing a winter steelhead trip up there, make sure you grab your 5-weight rod, keep it in the boat, until the 1st of April when trout closes up there. But good March brown hatches. And again, you won't see those fish all over the place, but you will run into some runs where they are, and then you'll see a good pod of them. Sean, who recently joined us here, he just went down, did a float on the river and said there was a lot of March browns out. We have some great patterns for March browns, just a dark body. It's real different from an eastern March brown, which is a much lighter bug. This is a real dark bodied bug, 14s and 16s. Real simple fly, but they do want a dark fly. But that hatch has been really popping off out there. And that's a hatch that kind of goes, sun or cloud. So that's a good one to look for. The little Applegate River, little tributary that comes into Grants Pass, I always suggest fishing down below that tributary if you can, because we do see a fair number of fish peel off in there. I have not heard anything about the Applegate this year, like nothing. It's kind of weird. Usually I hear a little bit about it. I'm sure people are out there fishing it and finding them here and there. But when it's really low like this, it's really tough. I've definitely talked to people who fish it fairly regularly during the season, but really haven't even been out this year because it's just so low. So I think it's a couple hundred down low, 250, something like that. It's probably under 100 CFS in the upper stretch, or 100. So very, very low, very slow moving holes is where the fish hang out in this type of stuff. There should be fish spread out throughout the whole thing at this point. But it's going to be a trick finding them and a trick getting them to eat. So have not heard much of anything, and we'll certainly pass it on to you if we do. But typically last part of March is kind of the peak out there, when there's kind of most concentrations of fish around. Holy water, a little trout impoundment up on the upper rogue there above the hatchery. This is a good time to be poking around. It's going to be a shifting kind of time. We've had a lot of bright sun and a little bit warmer weather, so I think that the fish are going to be slowly transitioning into more of a springtime thing, and we will see some spawning up there, so keep an eye on that, especially with the low flows. You can see reds. You can walk along that high bank, look down into the river, and you'll start seeing reds this time of year, so you want to stay away from the spawning fish up there, because there's not a ton of that activity, but there's enough, and there's a decent number of self-sustaining fish in there, and so we want to keep them going. But now's a good time to fish. Back to streamers, things like that. That's always a good bet. As I mentioned, we will have some overcast days coming up in the next 10 days. That's going to be a good time to be up there with some dry flies possibly, and get like a tail end of some blueing olives. There could be some other mayflies mixed in there. There's not a ton of bugs up there, but that kind of weather will really bring them out. So I think those days could be really good up there in the holy water, and we've seen some really high quality fish come out of there this season. So I think that is a really good bet in this next week. Really getting into peak time on the North Umpqua. It's been a good season on the sort of the lower North Umpqua, where we see a lot of really nice high quality fish come out. A little bit more of a conventional fishery, but we're fairly tuned into that. We've got some friends that fish up there, with just with yarn tactics and stuff like that. And boy, again, just seen some really nice fish. So a lot of those fish do end up in the North Umpqua fly water. So again, I think that's a really good bet on the West Coast. Again, we're going to have extremely low flows up there, so those fish are going to be harder than ever to get to. So you want to kind of stay tuned into that if you're fishing up there. But this can be a real peak time to be up there, and there can be some really high quality fish up there. Again, I do think that if you haven't spent much time up there, going with a guide is going to be really beneficial to you. Those fish can be really a challenge to find, especially in these types of conditions. So, but we do like fishing up there this time of year, and getting into the real peak time, I would say, up there on the north. I'll make a little plug for Sugar Creek Ranch. I think, you know, if you're a trout guy and looking forward to anticipating the season here, we're going to be getting into some really good fishing down there. It's a little pay-to-play fishery that we really like in Northern California that we book with the Fly Shop out of Redding, and it's really a neat place. We've been down there a couple times and have done a couple videos down there. But Sugar Creek Ranch is a little series of small lakes, kind of ponds, and some very nice high quality fish, and it's being managed really, really well right now. And we've had some real fun down there in the early season. It can be a real great early season, sort of, you know, shake off the shack nasties kind of trip. So if you want any more information about that, please give us a call and we can book you in to Sugar Creek Ranch. It's a lot of fun fishing down there. We'll be heading down there soon ourselves. Any of the year-round streams that are open for trout fishing, we talk about the Upper Sacramento quite a bit because it's kind of, you know, one of the main ones. But any rivers like that that are open all year, this is a good time to go poke around. Because, you know, you're just going to start seeing that transition, especially on the Upper Sacramento, where when we have this bright sun, it's going to affect the water temps a bit, you know, sort of in that kind of middle river area around Dunsmuir and down. So those fish will get a little bit more active. So I think that's one of the better early season trout bets. But if you have an open river in your region, you know, that's open year round for trout, it's a good time to start looking around. You'll start seeing the trout get active. And then obviously as we get into that sort of late April, May, that's when we see that big shift, you know, going into a more, you know, late spring, summer pattern. That's a big shift. But the fish will start getting more active this time of year and feeding a little bit more. So so there are some good options for trout fishing now. It's time to start getting the rods out, cleaning lines, you know, checking leaders and getting ready because the trout season is just around the corner. Well, thanks so much for watching. We always appreciate it. Hopefully this helps with your social isolation plans for this crazy time that we're in. But no better place to be than out walking around in the woods by yourself or with a buddy, and just having a good time out there. So hopefully this helps you. We appreciate it. Please feel free to give us a call if we can update you with any details. We're happy to help. Thanks so much.